It's always great to chat with the commissioner of the SEC, certainly before the college football playoffs. Greg Sankey back here on the Rich Eisen Show. Great to see you, Commissioner. How are you, sir?
Well, you remember those days when we were young and there'd be like technical difficulties on the TV screen?
Yes, sir.
Please stand by. Admit to America, I'm the source of technical difficulties.
You are definitely, you know what? Please stand by. I remember that all the time. Please stand by. We were experiencing technical difficulties, but it is good to see you, sir. Is that an Augusta National?
Yeah, it's a power play. It's Christmas party.
That's a
SEC office, so I had to pull out something green.
I like it. I like it very much. Now, again, I know, the commissioner that I work for flies off to big games and things like that. Are you going to be in Oklahoma? Are you going to be at that game physically?
Yes, but
mm-hmm.
We're a volleyball league now.
Okay.
So I will start in Kansas City because we have half of the Final Four in Division I men's volleyball, and then we'll head to Norman, then to College Station Saturday morning, and finish up Saturday afternoon in Oxford, Mississippi.
Oh.
So that's first-class problem to have. And hopefully back to Kansas City for the national championship in volleyball on Sunday.
I like it. I know you're all about the SEC. I don't know if you remember the first time we met. I do. It was at the Super Bowl in Atlanta, in Commissioner Roger Goodell's spot, if you will, in the stadium. And you came up to me and you asked me if I knew the exact number of SEC players on the field. That's what you said to me. I don't know if you recall that. You're like, do you know how many SEC? And I said I didn't know, but I did point to the one Big Ten player who played for New England at quarterback. I did. I think that was my response to you. But it was fun.
Yeah, I think I was feeling it because that was like right after Peyton and Cam played, the year or two before. So we had both quarterbacks in that
That's
one.
right. MVP quarterbacks in Super Bowl 50, and obviously it's Super Bowl 60. So, when you watch a game like Oklahoma and Alabama, I'm sure you are filled with pride in seeing everything else that's going on. I've got Greg Sankey here from the SEC. We're back on the Rich Eisen Show on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. The commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey, is here. And we greatly appreciate your time. It's right before, obviously, the college football playoffs that's going down. What is your just assessment right now? I'm going to open it up and go macro of the state of college football. How would you describe it, Greg Sankey?
It's a time of change. I think in the midst of change, there are sound fundamentals. So we look at attendance, viewership, interest, feedback. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of opportunity that's been created. But I'd say frustration levels are higher than maybe we've experienced because as we walk through the economic opportunities provided to young people, the transfer opportunities, the timing of coaching changes, which relates to the bigger calendar. So when we're talking about macro, those are some of the frontline issues. You saw disagreement over college football playoff selections. That has occurred for years. What's interesting now is rather than argue about like 4 and 5, like a couple of years ago, we're arguing about 11, 12, 13, and 14. The issue of needing to make decisions and kind of put some of those balls that are bouncing around or that are up in the air that we're juggling, put them back on the rack, if you accept that metaphor, I think is really important to mitigate that frustration. So I think there's, it's the best of times and the worst of times at each moment in football right now.
Well, to me, the way I look at it, and when you say, hey, we used to argue about who's 4 and 5 and 6, now it's just lower down. And if the college football playoffs do expand, we'll talk about, 15, 16, 17, or who knows how many it can get to. The thing that I think is that there's not enough rules that need to happen, and then the rules that are happening need tweaking, as you pointed out, about when players are allowed to hit the portal, coaches needing to make decisions about their futures right at the outset of playoffs. And my question is who's going to when can we actually corral these things, Commissioner?
I'll be happy to corral these things myself, but let's go back and understand the why that we're here. So fundamentally, so let's just take Oklahoma and Alabama Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
What the young people on our teams ask is to know that the people across the line of scrimmage are held to the same standards that they're held to. So not having this universe be governed on a state-by-state basis. Now that started in 2019 with NIL-related legislation, progress to 2021 when it all accelerated. We then have a set of court decisions that have, to a certain extent, governed our ability to make our own decisions around transfer rules. The same with length of eligibility. The same with seasons of eligibility and how those are calculated. So I saw yesterday somebody's looking for year 7 or 8. And those are all different elements that are imposed externally. Now, how do you corral, using that word, those issues internally? That is the essential challenge. And it's not that there's not motivation to make decisions. It is, what can you control? So what decisions might we make on a conference basis? What has to be decided on a national basis? And in what structure can that set of decisions be protected?
So let's take it, I guess, if you will, if you don't mind, one at a time, because just in recent days, let's just start again with coaches that can be bought out. You know, that a coach can be bought out. In a perfect example is what's happening in your conference. I mean, the video that I was showing the day that Lane Kiffin left for Ole Miss, putting it on the screen. I mean, I'm sure you don't want fans showing up at an FBO cursing out a coach as he walks onto a private jet sent by one member school to take him from another member school. $3 million exchanging hands between member schools. Would you be up for having contracts where coaches aren't allowed to be bought out? Period. End of story.
Well, I don't know that that's reality. But let's go back to the warning that I provided a decade ago, which was, by making recruiting decisions a December event rather than a February event, we have moved from the day when Nick Saban was hired at Alabama, that happened in early mid-January, back in 2007, 2008, to every head coaching position that was open being decided in late November and early December. So it's not about one circumstance. And keep in mind, we had a set of we have 5 coaching openings as it happened in this league. And that will happen in other places. We force this calendar to make decisions early. Now, could you do that contractually? Sure. And we've had schools that have put, if you will, non-compete clauses in coaches' contracts within our league that limits their ability to just move. But what's the level of buyout that makes that sufficient? I think there are a set of factors that have to be understood. If we move that recruiting to a different time frame where you could promote coaches' stability, seems to me that's something we can actually control first, rather than every individual contractual relationship.
Well, I guess, again, I keep extrapolating it out to professional football, since it does appear to be that's the way we're working. Like, there's no way the Giants should be able to buy out Ben Johnson in the middle of his Bears season and say, we have an opening, we need you, and we need you now. Obviously, the calendar's different. And, you know, when I mean, like, it seems like it's being professionalized, I have this posted, and again, I know this isn't your conference, but USC football earlier this week, they re-signed their quarterback, Jaden Mayava, and this looks like a free agent signing in the National Football League to announce that he's re-signed with his team. Now, the way the rules work, he has every right to enter a portal or anything like that, but do you feel that there needs to be some form of a contract for players where it's not a year-to-year thing, Commissioner Sankey?
There are contracts with players. In fact, there's at least one legal action that's been announced about non-fulfillment of a contract, others that have been rattled. And I think you're asking a question fundamentally about people honoring contracts. So go back to coaching changes.
Yes, sir.
What do those clauses allow? How are those presented? Even with the young people right now who populate our rosters, what do those contracts contemplate? They can do that directly through the revenue sharing or some of their name, image, and likeness activity. How far does it go? So people will advocate, well, collective bargaining is the solution, except that nobody's external rights in professional sports are governed within a collectively bargained agreement. So there are a set of issues here that are very different than just this direct, we've got 30 or 32 franchises and that template overlaid on a collegiate template solves every problem.
So what does solve every problem in your estimation? Because there's scheduling issues as well. And, again, the portal's opening up in the early part of next year. And there's going to be some teams, certainly in your conference, that are battling for the ultimate prize. So what do you think is the answer on that?
What's interesting there is the move of the portal. So remember, Rich, not so many years ago, all the complaints about restrictive nature of transfer rules. I've actually had our staff go back and grab the quotes where everybody said, hey, this change to the transfer opportunities in football and basketball, it's going to be great. And now you look at press conferences where the criticism level of those change policies are high. So the transfer portal in football is placed in January after consultation, really guidance from the American Football Coaches Association.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, will the football community make that system work? And we're getting complaints about tampering right now. And this isn't like a me problem. This is a we problem where the people who are part of the problem have to also be part of the solution. So I think the first step to identifying what's better is, okay, what do we have to address? So first of all, we put all of this signing activity right after the season ends, really forcing coaching decisions. So move that later, whether that's high school or transfer individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move that, right? Let's change that dynamic. The second is we need the ability to set national standards. And if you go to elements of the Alston case, I'm not an attorney, but it says, look, you can keep going through the courts, you can go to Congress, you can look at collective bargaining. I'm not sure those are all the elements. You can go to states and try to have common state legislation. We've tried that. That hasn't been a productive effort. We're now in this congressional conversation because whether we like it or not, Congress does have the ability to set national standards. Now, whether it will or not, that's a pretty tough proposition in this political environment. And so it's the then what. And it's not just a football dialogue, Rich. That's what's important.
Yes.
The NBA gets to negotiate around basketball and basketball only, Major League Baseball around baseball and baseball only. We have roughly 21 different sports. And people will suggest, hey, let's just separate one out and everything else will be fine. That's not the reality we occupy. So the ability to have national standards really becomes a central conversation because some of these sports are not going to go quietly when you say, let's just separate out football and we'll deal with these others under some old model.
That's one of the many reasons I love talking to you, Commissioner Sankey, is your grasp of the issues and obviously the seat that you occupy and the ability to communicate it. And it's also very frustrating talking to you because everything that I think is a fix, you keep telling me isn't real.
Well, you know what you and I need to do because your conversations stimulate my thinking. Okay. We ought to go find an off-camera cup of coffee.
Okay.
With about 2 hours. And I'll bring my list and you bring your list. And we'll work on solutions rather than reasons or excuses or concepts. How's that?
I'd love that, but I'm assuming the Big Ten individual you're talking to about this sort of stuff is Tony Petitti, your counterpart in the Big Ten, sure. Right?
Yeah.
And again, that's where I'm always heading is that there are conferences and schools that have similar issues based on, I guess, for the lack of a better phrase, socioeconomic collegiate athletic status, and others that do not, and that separating those institutions to come up with a smaller construct in which everybody can agree to a standard set of rules is the way to go. And I'm wondering if that is, at least, am I onto something there, Commissioner?
So, let's be careful about how we frame that. So A long time ago, I was at the opposite end of the Division I competitive and economic spectrum when I was commissioner of the Southland Conference. I see value in those opportunities. A long time ago, I played baseball in an NAIA setting. I graduated from a Division III college. And whether we like it or not, we are in this big picture ecosystem. That's where you and I started. Mm-hmm. And what's our responsibility there? Because the NCAA funds Division II and Division III championships off of the Division I men's basketball contract. We should just be open and honest about that. I don't think for a moment that putting a conference like ours or the Big Ten or the ACC and Big 12 in rooms that are filled with everyone from Division I don't think that's been a great model for effective decision making, because we don't do that in other aspects of higher education. We don't take, and you can pick randomly universities that begin with the same letters as my university. So, you can take McNeese and Mississippi State. They don't sit in the same room and make decisions about their campus issues, but we do that in college sports. The NCAA has made some progress at narrowing that decision-making band, but you're always going to have to collaborate with solutions. And people will say, well, this should be a czar. And then they'll call me and say, you should be in charge of this whole thing.
Yes.
I have enough gray hair, and I have less hair than I used to with 16. Can you imagine that? And now you got to pick a number. Is it 70? So some people have suggested, hey, just 70 can get together and this thing will be perfect. Or 130, that's roughly the number in the bowl subdivision. Well, what do you do about the other 220 who all have House members and senators with an interest in them being in Division I and playing in March Madness? That's where I go back to say, like, if you were just dealing with one sport like the NFL does, it's not easy, but it's less complex than what we have. I don't think, though, that walking into big rooms filled with people is the way for us to solve the really big problems in front of us. You're going to have to narrow that conversation.
All right. In the couple minutes I have left, Commissioner, what is your feeling of the college football playoffs as it currently stands? Are you up for expanding it? Are you up for tweaking it? What's on your mind as we get set?
I think that. So whenever you begin, I think that is an answer. This is my opinion, right? I think that the move to 12 was really well timed. There's some clunkiness to it because the model was introduced, remember, in 2021, and that was before we expanded with Oklahoma and Texas, before the Big Ten. There's been a domino effect. And we were slow to adapt in real time because we were slow to accept the 12-team idea. And I was part of the group that introduced 12. I think 12 was right. I think it was done at the right time. When we've talked as a league, we think the move to 16 is the next right step. That provides 11 at-larges. It honors conference champions. And I do expect there's going to be a lot of stress about the low-ranked conference champions that are in this thing right now because they've displaced some much more highly ranked teams. That's the point of controversy. And so I do think we have to continue to adapt. Our league has said 16 is the right next step, whether we can agree upon that or not. As a group in the college football playoff management committee, that remains to be seen.
Well, I send my best to you, sir. I always appreciate your time. And I will definitely reach out for that offline coffee. It'll be on me, Commissioner, and that's not a buyout. That's you know what I mean? Like, that's just me saying it. I'm happy. Or we'll put it on Petiti's tab. You won't know.
I want to respect the journalistic integrity, so we could each pay for our own and produce the receipts. We could turn it into a Netflix special. I don't want to cause any trouble for either of us with ESPN, but we could try that.
Understood.
Too.
This is Disney Plus, sir. It's all good, though. I'm sure you know the same people I do. And I wish you the best of luck in your travels and everything that you're seeing. And I always appreciate our chats. Thank you.
Same. And I hope the Disney affiliation works as well for you as it has been for us the last couple of years.
It's so far so good, sir. So far so good. You take care of yourself. Thanks again.
Yeah, take care.
You bet. That's Commissioner Greg Sankey of the Southeastern Conference right here on the Rich Eisen Show. There he goes. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.